can taste your words. I can taste your I can taste your words. I can taste I can taste your words. I can taste I can taste your words. I can taste
Hello and happy Monday, everyone. I'm Katie McManus, business strategist and money mindset coach, coming to you live several different places. I'm on the Facebooks, LinkedIn, YouTube, and hello on Instagram. I do love these to be interactive. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. But sometimes the technology does fail us. I am using StreamYard, and sometimes StreamYard chooses not to work for me to see all the comments real time. So anyway, any questions you have on this, please do pop them in the chat. If you have anything to add, again, love this to be interactive. Today, I want to talk about something that's coming up for a lot of folks in my world right now, especially with just the added pressure of everything that's happening in the United States and around the world. And it is honestly caring too much about your business. One of the phases that I think is really important for new business owners and ongoing business owners to get to and to process through is this point in your business where you have recognized with your business for a long time. You have seen your business as an extension of you for a really long time. And there's a point where that breaks, right? And at that point, when it breaks, it feels like you're about to break, right? Which I bet you can imagine does not feel good. It's not a great sensation, because if you see yourself as like part of your business and your business is a part of you, when things don't go well, it's not just the business that's having the problem. You see it as like a reflection of yourself, and that's incorrect. That's incorrect. I used the example earlier today of if say you were writing like a research paper, a 30-page research paper, and it was on like water cleanliness in New England, right? And you're a scientist, and you went through and did a ton of research for this, and you submitted it to your professor, and the professor came back and you're like, listen, you had some great sources over here, but this part of the research paper, you didn't have enough sources. You didn't have enough information. I'm not convinced by this portion. So the paper gets a C, right? At that point, yes, you've put a lot of work into it. Yes, you have spent a lot of time and energy and, put a lot of your resources to it. And also the paper has the C, right? You don't have a C. You're not just like a mediocre average human being. The paper was a mediocre average paper. Right? And it can be improved upon, right? That is not a reflection of who you are, right? But what happens in a business, especially I would say that there are two major phases where this happens, right? There's the phase where you're just starting and you feel like putting yourself out there is this major move, and it's outing yourself, and it's you are the business, and the rejection that you might get is going to be a direct rejection of who you are, right? And then there's another phase that happens where you have grown the business and something has gone wrong, right? Maybe sales have slowed down, and that can be for a lot of different reasons. Maybe you launched something and it didn't go well. Maybe you're just at the point where you're ready to scale, and that level of exposure feels like you are putting yourself on the world stage, and it's terrifying. Right? Those are really the stages where this break has to happen, where you genuinely have to stop giving a shit. You have to stop caring about the success and failure of your business. Um, uh, one of the things that I love telling my clients and they hate hearing is that, 50% of the group programs you launch, especially if you're in the coaching space, won't work out. They will flop. Something will happen. They won't resonate. You won't get any clients for it. Maybe the timing will be wrong. Maybe your marketing for it will suck. Something's going to happen and it's not going to work out, right? You're going to do a major push for one-on-one clients at some point and it's not going to go well. You're going to do a sales call with someone and it's going to go off the rails and they're not going to become your client. If you continuously make that rejection or that failure about you, that's going to be devastating. And it is devastating, right? When you identify yourself as a part of your business, it is absolutely devastating, right? Because you see it as your failure. You see it as like a rejection of you as a human being. When ultimately it's not. It's none of those things. It is a failure of the project. It is a failure of the business, right? Yes, there are things that you could have done differently, right? But that's not a reflection of you and your worth, right? Like how many relationships have you had in your life that didn't work out, right? Probably countless. Probably, well, hopefully not too many. But like those also hurt. They feel like they're a rejection of you or like you're doing something wrong when really like there just wasn't the right connection with this other person, right? There was something that didn't make it move forward. Right. And there's a part of that you absolutely have responsibility for, but it's not a judgment of you as a human being. It's not like a grading system for how you're doing as a human being. We are raised in a society that has us look outward for recognition. It happens from a very young age. We're given report cards. And so we feel like we're being rated by our work. Right. And you see a major shift, especially in, I think it's called gentle parenting, where you're not supposed to compliment kids on the outcome of their work. We're supposed to compliment kids on like the effort that they put in and like how creative they were and how much time they spend on something. Right. Rather than the outcome. Right. Because we want these kids to grow up seeing their inherent value and what they bring to the world and not looking for external validation all the time for the things that they do, right? They didn't have that when we were kids. If you're a millennial or older, that was not part of the parenting philosophy, if your parents even had a parenting philosophy, right? So it's really normal for us to look for external validation for how I'm doing as a human being. Right? What's my worth as a human being? And also that will fuck you up every single time in your business, right? Because businesses have like successes and failures all the time, right? I have two very dear friends who own this really cool shop in Harwich, Massachusetts, on Cape Cod, if you're not familiar. It's called Murphy's General Store. And it's this cute shop. They have like books and they have puzzles and they have like all the stuff that you want to get when you're on vacation. Or if you're, a local in town, you want to give gifts to people. It's a great shop. And they will tell me, throughout the summer that they have like ordered this thing. And sometimes it goes gangbusters and it sells out. But sometimes like they get something, they're like, oh my God, people are going to love this. And no one buys it. No one buys it and no one understands it. And then they have a ton left over and it's just perplexing to them because they thought that it was going to be like the most popular thing. And I'm trying to think like they got little Attenbergs, the nature documentary guy. David Attenberg, is that his name? I can't remember his first name, but anyway, they got little figurines that like I think you can put in like little potted plants and it like, says something. They thought it was hysterical and no one got it, unfortunately. I thought it was hysterical too. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But imagine if you own a shop and you brought something in and then it doesn't sell and you take it on as like this personal failure. You take it on as I suck. This is never going to work. Here I am buying stuff that's never going to sell in the shop. It's going to be very discouraging and it's going to make you desperate. It's going to make you desperate for business. It's going to make you do really desperate things to get business, which is going to shoot you in the foot in the long term. Okay. So when you care too much, there are really 4 things that happen that are going to be completely detrimental to your business. Number 1, when you struggle too long to get clients, and I just want to name, when you first start out, you're going to struggle to get clients. Okay. It's not a reflection on you. It is just the natural course of things when you're starting, especially a service-based business, right? I want you to remember, like, you haven't trained people in your world to know that you're helpful in this way, typically. Right. And so you have to go online and you have to be visible and you have to network and you have to announce yourself as this person who can help in these areas. And that takes time. It takes time for people to see your name pop up and then see how you're useful and start connecting the two, right? And then it takes time for those kinds of posts to get in front of someone who has the problem that you solve, right? Or in front of people who have the problem that you solve. And then it takes a while for you to build trust with them enough that they're like, like, I have this problem. This person solves this problem. And they've been consistent enough and they've shared enough about themselves that I feel like I trust them, right? It takes a while for them to get to that point. And then once they do, like, they may not be ready to hire you. There are a lot of people who will hire you in their mind before they ever book a sales call with you. Right? I did this with my podcast producer, Neil Valio. I hired him in my brain hole about a year before I ever got on a sales call with him, because I knew when I got on a sales call with him, we were just going to be ready to go. Like, let's do this. And I laugh because on that sales call, he told me, go and think about it. And I was like, shut up and take my money, because I had already done all the thinking. So it takes time, right? And I think a lot of us hold ourselves to this expectation that, like, other businesses have like sales goals and they reach them, right? For a business to have a sales goal and to reach it, they have to have a model that is proven, right? There's not a car dealership in the world that's like, well, there's no proof that people want cars. There's no model for how we sell cars. We're not sure how to sell cars. So, like, let's just show up with some cars and see if people come and buy them. No, like, it's a tried and true business model. They know what is likely to happen in December versus July. They know what's going to drive people to buy a car. They're able to set goals for their salespeople. Right? It is a tried and true business model. Even if you're starting from scratch, then, you typically can, expect a certain amount of sales, right? Because people need cars, right? It's a little different when you're in a service-based business, when you're working with people one-on-one and people don't necessarily like need your service, but it will help them immensely, right? So just keep that in mind, right? So that's typically like what happens. People hold themselves to this expectation that they have to reach this sales goal because they said it, right? And then when they don't, they start getting really desperate and they start thinking, okay, well, what's wrong with my offer? What's wrong with my program? Maybe it's too expensive, right? So the number one thing that they will end up doing is they start discounting their work, because they think, okay, well, I can't make $200 an hour, so maybe I'll take $100 an hour and do that. And so they start offering discounts. They start negotiating against themselves. And ultimately, they don't really get any clients, right? Because when you start discounting yourself, people see you as not that good, right? Because if you were that good, like, why would you need to discount yourself? Questionable. So, when you tie your worth to the success of your business, to the success of your sales calls, and you get negative feedback, you start working against yourself. And it does not help you build the business. It actually undermines the whole situation. All right. So, number 1, you start discounting your work and undercutting that foundation you're trying to build. The second thing that happens is you get on sales calls or you start posting to social media and you come across as super fucking desperate, right? And I think we've all come across someone who is selling something who is desperate to make the sale, right? And how do we feel about that, right? If someone's coming at us and they're so desperate to make the sale, we don't typically trust that person, right? Because we see their desperation, we understand it, right? Because we've all been desperate for something in our past. But we know when someone's in a desperate position, who do they care about the most, right? It's not me. They're not caring about me and what's right for me if they're desperate. They care most about them getting what they need, right? Which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if I'm thinking about hiring someone and I'm getting desperate vibes from them, I'm not going to trust that them recommending that I buy this thing is going to be in my best interest, right? I'm going to think, okay, well, here's this person who is thinking in their best interest. No problem with that. I get it. We all have human needs. We need money to take care of our meat suit. But I'm going to go with someone who doesn't necessarily need me, right? We have this instinctual like drawback when someone comes on at us too strong, right? It kind of scares us away, right? Because it's just really intense. And it also gets people thinking, okay, well, if you're this desperate for clients, you must not be that good, right? And really, I mean, the only way to not be desperate is to set yourself up so you do not have to give a shit, right? If you need to have a 9-to-5 job to pay the bills while you're building this business, there's nothing wrong with that, right? If you need to wait tables a couple nights a week so that you can build this business and not stress about money, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What's her name? Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and my personal favorite, Big Magic. And she wrote a bunch of other novels as well, which I've never read and I don't know the titles to. But she talks about how she waited tables until she had her third bestseller. Okay. She put out 3 novels before she stopped waiting tables because she says she never wanted to put that level of pressure on her creative muscles to have to perform in order for her to do her work. All right. There's no shame in doing that kind of stuff. All right. Talk to pretty much any actor in the world, unless they come from an acting family. I guarantee you they were like working at Applebee's or the Cheesecake Factory or whatever. They made it work. They knew that they had to pay the bills and like the whole process. But the key to this is you have to not give a shit about what other people are thinking, right? You have to not give a shit about like whether people say yes or no. And that's really, 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 really hard. Okay. I'm saying this like it's easy. It's not. Okay. It's simple. It's not easy. You just have to distance yourself from caring about the outcome. All right. Now, the third thing that can happen especially if you are desperate and you can't really separate from that, is you end up getting really pushy and you can actually scare people away from working with you. Right. It also messes with your marketing. You come across as like this super aggressive person who's like really railing at people to come and work with you. I mean, it works for some personality types, right? It works with other people who tend to be pretty aggressive. But it doesn't work for everyone. It actually works for a very small population of the people, right? So you're going to end up scaring away people with your marketing if you get too aggressive and too pushy. All right. And honestly, like we've all made these mistakes. If you've gotten too aggressive or pushy, or you've been on a sales call and been desperate, or if you've discounted your work, you're not alone. We've all done it. We've all done it. And it's really a rite of passage, right? And you have to do it once and see the impact on your business to really learn, wow, this is not the way, right? I've cared too much. I need to dial it back, right? Now, my personal favorite with all of this, when people care too much about their business, when they care too much about the successes and failures of their business, the ultimate thing that happens is it takes you too long to recover when you have a failure, right? When someone says no to working with you, it can be absolutely devastating to hear. And you take that rejection on as, they rejected me. And then you get into this emotional and mental slump because, oh my God, I got rejected and I'm so sad. And like, oh my God, I suck. And like, maybe I need to work on myself. Maybe I need to fix myself and da, da, da. And what ends up happening is like, you get so down on yourself for too long that you're actually not even working in your business. You're just recovering emotionally from that. This is something that I'm really grateful that I worked in sales for so long for, because, you get rejected all the time in sales. You hear people saying no to you all the time. The beautiful thing about being in a sales role where you're selling something else, like a gym membership or solar panels or internet security, all things that I've sold, or even yarn, right? Because I managed a yarn shop for a little while. When someone says no to buying those things, the rejection still hurts, even though they're saying no to the thing that you're selling and not you, right? When you are selling a service in your business and someone says no to working with you, it can feel like they're rejecting you. It can feel like you had a crush on someone and you went up and you told them how you felt and they said, no, I'm not interested in you. And it's you that they're rejecting, right? And I'm sorry to say, like, there's no way to bypass that feeling except to have it happen a lot and just get desensitized to it, right? And there's no way to never hear no, right? I know, like that's a big goal for a lot of people, but honestly, like a healthy business hears no a lot, especially if you're selling a service and you're priced correctly. You should be hearing no 50% to 75% of the time while you're on sales calls. That means out of every 4 people you talk to, 2 to 3 of them should say no to working with you. Okay. That means you're charging enough. That means you have a program that people want, right? It means that you have people who maybe aren't ready to buy right now, but will in the future. Now, but I want you to imagine if after every no, you take 2 weeks to recover because it was so devastating that you heard no, you're never going to build the momentum to build this business to full time. It's just never going to happen, right? You know, the key to being in business is not avoiding failure all the time. Like if you want to avoid failure, do not start a business, right? Don't do anything exciting with your life. Just like get a job at McDonald's, go to work, come home, don't talk to anyone, never ask a soul out, don't ask people to be your friends, never play any board games. Those are devastating. Don't try to learn any languages. You're absolutely going to fail, right? We can't live life in a way that like we're never going to fail. We would just be slugs, right? And slugs fail as well. I guarantee you. I don't know a whole lot of slugs, but I guarantee you they fail as well. In a business, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about how quickly you recover from failure, right? Because if you can recover really quickly from failure, that means you can fail a bunch of times and then get to the success, right? So I want you to imagine you launch a group program and it flops. No one signs up, or maybe one person signs up and you're super embarrassed. And then you've basically given away like one-on-one consulting or coaching for like a fraction of the price. So you have failed. And imagine you're so devastated by this that you just say, that's it. I'm not running another group program for the rest of the year. I'm not going to be promoting anything. I'm not going to be putting anything out. Like this is just too much. I need to recover. Great. You're not going to have another group program that year. It's not going to happen. But imagine you suffer the defeat, you fail, and you feel the feelings really quickly. And then you dust yourself off and you're like, cool, let's go again. And say it happens again. And you're like, cool, dust yourself off. And you say, cool, let's go again. And that third time, that fourth time, that fifth time, it takes off and you get clients and you fill it up and you make money. The first scenario there where you just say, I'm not trying this again this year, that's never going to happen. You're never going to make that money. You're never going to experience the success. But if you can recover from failure really fast and you don't let it devastate you, if you stop giving a shit about things working out, that is when things start working out, right? Because you're treating it like an experiment. You're treating it as something that is separate from yourself. It is not part of you. The failure of the thing is not a reflection of you as a human being. It is a reflection of the thing, right? Of maybe your marketing strategy or your ideal client for it or any number of things, right? So my ask of you is, for your own sake, is to stop giving a shit about your successes and failures, right? Your successes do not mean that you are more worthy and deserving of all the good things that you want, right? Likewise, your failures do not indicate your worth as a human being, right? Your successes and failures belong to the business and belong to the work that you put into the business. And really the key to success is to just be able to dust yourself off when you fall down, and you will fall down, and move on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. All right. So with that, I invite you to go and fail gloriously this week. I invite you to go and put yourself out there and open yourself up to the most rejection possible. Okay. And then I want you to DM me about it. I want to hear all about it. All right. And remember, the rejection, the failure has nothing to do with your worth as a human being, right? Your worth is endless. It is expansive. Like you are worthy of everything that you could possibly want in this world. And I'm a big believer that the fact that you want it is actually proof that it's coming your way. But you, my friend, have to get the fuck out of the way so that it can arrive. All right. With that, I'm Katie McManus, your practical business strategist. I will be going live every single day this week, and I cannot wait to see you all tomorrow. And have a great Monday, everyone. Mwah. Bye.